Welcome back. And you know, we started a series on how to make a playsuit, and now this is our second video. Let's move straight to what we have for today. Today we're going to look at the measurements. You can see I have my tape on already. Yeah. So I want us to take a look at something. Come. So welcome to the board. I brought you closer so you can see what I've written. Now in taking measurements, you want to take note of the two types of measurements we have. We have the vertical measurements and we have the horizontal measurements. Yes. And the vertical measurement goes all the way from the top down. So you place the tape on your body, on your client's body, coming from the top down. Now the top down can be from the shoulder down or from the waistline down. Now let's take an example. Let's take a look at the mannequin here. I want to take a vertical measurement of my mannequin. I'll come from my shoulder down. So I'm looking for a point. I'm looking for my bust point. I'm looking for my waistline point. I'm looking for my under bust line point. I'm looking for hip point, you know, and the rest. That's how to go up. That's how to go about getting your vertical points or the vertical measurement. Now it's best you go from the top to the waist and end at the waistline for the upper part. Okay, then for the lower part you go from the waistline down to wherever you're supposed to get to. Okay, I don't know if I explained that better. We'll still see more of it later. Okay, that's for the vertical measurement. Now let's take a look at the vertical measurements we are going to work with here. We're going to work with the vertical measurements of shoulder to bust line, shoulder to waistline, shoulder to armhole line rather, shoulder to waistline, shoulder to hip line, and we have the crotch line and the hem line. Let's take a look at these measurements now. So for the vertical measurement, just like I was saying, I hope you can see the board from there, we have the shoulder to bust line. The shoulder to bust line comes all the way from the shoulder to the highest point of the bust. That is your shoulder to bust line. Then we have also the shoulder to armhole line. Now shoulder to armhole line, you can get that by measuring across your armhole, okay? You can get that measuring across your armhole. There's also a calculation we are going to apply. We are going to see that on the board. I'll take you to do that later. Now the other one, shoulder to waistline, coming from your shoulder to the waistline point, okay? Now it depends on your client. That's the kind of body type that your client has. You have to work with it when taking this shoulder to your waist measurement. Now, if the difference between the upper part of the tummy and the lower part is much, that means this time around you're going to take note of those 2 points because you know our dress connects together. So you want to take note of the upper part of the tummy and the lower part. Then take your tape across this point to get the accurate measurement that is needed. This will help the dress to fit better, okay? Then we have the shoulder to, okay, we are done with that, okay? Now the next is the hip line. To find the hip line, you come from the waist. You measure from the waist point. Yes, the natural waistline. This point, this time around, you're measuring from the natural waistline down to where the highest point of the hip is located. Okay, the highest point of the hip, that's the highest point for me is around this point. Okay, you take the measurement from the waist to that point. Then the crotch line. For the crotch line, we have different way to get the crotch line. You can decide to take the tape across the body like so. So whatever you get, now the back side has to meet up with the waistline. Okay, let's see. It has to meet up from the waist point, then to the waist point here also. Okay, this is one way to get the crotch line. Whatever you get, you're going to divide it by 2, then you put it on your table when drafting. Okay, then to get the crotch line, there's another measurement. You can use the hip measurement divided by 4. Whatever you get, that's what you use for the crotch line. Okay, then another one is to ask your client to sit. So you can get a seat. I have a seat here. You can see that. Now as she sits, you take the measurement from that natural waistline that we discovered earlier. You're going to take the measurement all the way to the base of the seat. You can't see the base of the seat, but to the base of the seat. That's another way to get the crotch line. Now you know how to get your crotch line. Different ways to get them, right? Okay, let's move on. Now we have the hemline. The hemline is actually the dress length, okay, or the playsuit length. So you measure all the way from the shoulder for this one and to the point where you want the dress to stop. That's your that becomes the hemline, the length of the dress. Now let's move to the next, the horizontal measurement. Horizontal measurement goes across, okay? It goes across, just I've illustrated earlier. It goes across. The first measurement for the horizontal measurement is the shoulder measurement. We have the shoulder measurement. You throw your tape to the shoulder of your client, okay? Going from the beginning of the arm here to the other side of the arm, right? Then the next one is the bust measurement. The bust measurement, you go across. You're going to go across this way to the fullest part of the bust. Then you take down your measurement. Then the next is the waistline. Remember, we looked for the waistline earlier when getting our points. So that particular point will be where you take your tape all around. So you take them all around. So if there's a difference between the upper waist and the lower waist, the upper waist is a natural waistline, right? So if there's a difference between them, you are going to take note of that. Then we have the hip measurement. The hip measurement will be found at the highest point of the hip. So that point we got as the hip line, that's the area your tape is going to go across. So you go across it, the fullest part of your hip. Then we have the thigh. The thigh is also called the lap. You go across the leg. So one of the legs, just go across it at the fullest part. The fullest part is usually the upper part of the thigh. Okay, you take the measurements, you put it down. Now it depends on how you want the hemline to be. That's at this point now is the knee. Okay, it's the knee circumference for us. You know, this is where the knee is. So literally the hemline we measured earlier is like saying that we are looking for the waist to the knee. So you look for the waist to the knee. That's the hemline. So the knee measurement, in this case, you're going to go around the knee point. That's the knee line or the hemline, whichever name you desire to call it. Depends on the fittings you want to get. So you take it according to your own choice. And this is how to take your measurements. Now come to the board. Let's see how to do some divisions that has to do with our armhole line. Yes, let's see that. So you're here. Let's go. Now to look for our shoulder to armhole line, okay, let's do this below here. This is what I want to look for, right? Let me bring this down a little. Yeah. So once you look for this, there's this calculation you can apply. Your bust measurement divided by 6, okay? Whatever you get, you can add 1.5 inches, or you can make it 2 inches. Depends on what you want to make. If you want a free dress like the one we're making, you can add 2 inches or 2 inches, so 1.5 inches. So for me, my own calculation, my bust measurement divided by 6. Let's do that. Yes, I have my calculator here, so I'm going to punch it in. I have 38 inches is my bust circumference. So 38 inches divided by 6, I have 6.3. Okay, my own can you see this? You can see that. All right, let me write it on top here. So my own bust is what? 38. We divided by 6, I have 6.3. I'm going to add 1.5 to this. So the 6.3, I add 1.5. I'm going to have 7.8 inches. Now these are in decimals, okay? You want to try as much to approximate to the nearest whole number, yeah? Or if you can still get this right on your tape, if you know your tape reading very well, you can get that right. All right, so I have 7.8 inches, but I am going to approximate mine to 8 inches. Okay, if I approximate 7.8, it becomes 8 inches. So I am going to be working with this as my own armhole point. That's my shoulder to my armhole. Now this excludes my shoulder drop. My shoulder drop measurement is not included here, okay? Because if you watch the shoulder, if you want to take your armhole measurement, you take it from where the drop starts, right? This is where the drops, or the this point now is where my shoulder drop ends. It starts all the way. If you watch, if I relax very well and you take a good look at me, yeah, you take a good look at me, you find out what I'm trying to tell you. Let's drop this. You see, I have slants. The shoulder is slant. It's not a booger shoulder. Booger shoulder is not slanted. Okay, so because our shoulder is not in booger form now, it's not in squared form. Yeah, you're going to always create that slant when making a dress, and the slant is not included in my measurement here yet. Until we get to the table, you see how to go about all that. All right, so another measurement I didn't remember to include is the bust span. Okay, this is among the horizontal measurement because it goes across. Okay, your bust span. This is also called the nipple to nipple measurement because it goes across the fullest part of the bust to the other fullest part of the bust. So here on this mannequin, I'm going to illustrate, and here it is. Measuring from the fullest part to the fullest part, we have about 7 inches for the mannequin. And if I do same for me, I have about 8 inches for me. But if you didn't take your client's measurement, that's the bust span measurement, there's a shortcut I usually use to do that. All you have to do is your bust measurement, you're going to divide it by 10 inches. Okay, if I divide my own bust measurement by 10 inches, I'll be having 3.8 inches. Now this 3.8 inches is what I'll work with on the table, because you know we are working in quarters. Okay, if you didn't know, we'll be dividing our measurements. There are divisions for the measurements. That's the horizontal measurements. Horizontal measurements must be divided because you don't want to take the whole 38 inches that I have on the table. This is 38 inches, very long. You're going to get exhausted. Therefore, we divide to make the work easier. So we work in quarters. For bust, waist, hip, we work with quarters. When I say quarters, I mean you divide by 4. Then the shoulder measurement and the thigh and the knee are divided by 2. Okay, this is just a brush up. I can't give you all the details. It's going to be another subject entirely. That's why you need to join our foundation class. Join my foundation class. Let me break down everything for you. Okay, all right, that's if you're a newbie. But if you're a free hand user that wants to migrate to pattern drafting, you are welcome also. Okay, where was I? Bust span. Then bust span, like I said, is gotten by measuring the fullest part, and I use a method by dividing by 10 inches. So if I want to get the full one across this way, I divide by 5. So I get the main measurement here. But I divide by 10 straight because that's what I'm using on the table. So I hope you were able to learn 1 or 2 things from this intro video. I'm going to see you on the table where we get to the work. Bye-bye.